Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by 𝑾𝑹𝑶𝑵𝑮. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Ken Hardison, and welcome to another episode of Grow Your Law Firm podcast. And today, we're going to do something a little different. I have my wife, Tiana Hardison, who works with 𝑾𝑹𝑶𝑵𝑏 and is the editor of our magazine, and also is a lawyer, so she understands lawyers, and she understands me. So today we want to talk about how to market to your past clients. And we'll get into it, but I'm just going to turn it back over to you, Tiana, and let's begin.
All right. Ken, you've written a number of books, one in particular, though, Under Promise, Over Deliver. And I would like to ask you something about that book. In the book, you specifically discuss 3 distinct phases of marketing. And I was hoping that you might elaborate on those phases.
Okay. Yeah. So the way I look at it, there's before representation, during representation, and then after representation. And before representation is whatever a lawyer does. They buy pay-per-click, LSA ads, they do TV, they do radio, they do direct mail, they do, advertisements in newspapers, things like that. They try to get people that don't know them to like them, trust them, and hire them. And then you got during representation, when you're trying to create that great relationship, what I call create raving fans loyalty, so that they'll come back to you and refer their friends. And then you got after representation, which is after they leave, you want to keep marketing to them and top of mind awareness so that they will refer you people and come back and send their families and friends.
So which phase of those 3 phases do you think at this time most lawyers are underutilizing?
For sure, it's after representation. And it's the reason is I think I tried to think about it because I've always been focused in on that part because it's cheap, right? And I'm cheap, right? But you think about it, everybody just thinks, well, if I got to get more cases, then it means I got to spend more money. I got to do more marketing tactics. And so, all the people that market, they all do this. They all do it before representation because they think that's the deal. And it's hard to get people because you got all this competition, you get drowned out, and they don't know who to choose. And then once you get them in your firm, I think 50 to 80% of the lawyers probably know that they need to get really good client service, and they want to service them because, number one, they don't want bar complaints. Number two, they would like for them to refer their family and friends. But then the third part, this is very underutilized. For some reason, lawyers think that everybody's going to remember them, either because they're doing so much of that front end that they've created a brand, or just the fact that you did such a good job for them, that they're going to remember you. And the real truth is they don't. And it's sad, but they don't. So many things going on. They might remember where your firm was, or maybe they not. With the way things are going now, people sometimes don't even go into your office, especially in the last year with COVID. So, they might remember what you look like, but they really don't remember. And they don't even think about it when they see their friends, and their friends are getting a divorce or getting a wreck or got a ticket or whatever. They don't even think to try to refer you anybody, and so it's sad because those people already know you, like you, and trust you, and they are going to be your greatest referral sources.
You tell a story that I think is right on point to this, a plumber story. Would you mind sharing that with the audience?
Sure. So yeah, I use this as a sort of like, I guess, an analogy or to illustrate what I'm talking about, but I'm using a plumber and myself. Back when I sold my first law practice in 2010, I moved down to Myrtle Beach. I had the need for a plumber, and I don't remember what it was for now, but the plumber I went online, saw some pretty good reviews. I hired the plumber. They come in, they did a great job. They charged me a fair price, didn't kill me on the price. And it was great. And then about 2 years later, I had a water heater go out. And I was thinking, I said, man, I wish I could remember the name of that plumbing service, because there's like 30 plumbing services down here in Myrtle Beach. Just like wherever you are practicing, there's hundreds of lawyers doing the same thing. And for the life of me, I could not remember the name of the plumber service. So I go back online and I think I got the right one, but it turns out it's not the same service. That they come, they do a great job. They replace my water heater. They charge me a fair price, but they do something different. Number one, they put a magnet on my water heater. It's got all their contact information. Number two, I start getting, like within the next 2 months, a little newsletter, and it's black and white. It's not even color, and it's something about the company, and then a little thing about, this is what you need to be worried about with this season coming up. You need to check this or check that. There's little helpful tips, and so about a year later, I needed a plumber, and guess what? I knew exactly who to go get. I didn't even have to go to the water heater. I had one of his old newsletters set there, and I grabbed it, and it had his number on there, and I called him. They come over. I had a leaking underneath my sink. My faucet was leaking, and they took care of it. So it just hit me, that what I had been doing all these years was what this plumber was doing, was that I was staying top of mind awareness. And that's where most lawyers lose it. I don't know if it's their egos or they just think, but the deal is they don't. People don't remember you. I'm ashamed to say, but it's the truth.
So what are some of the best takeaways, some strategies and tactics that lawyers should be using today to create that top of mind awareness?
Well, Tiana, you want to think about, how can I stay in constant contact with them? You want to think about, I want to put a fence around this herd of people that I've represented and keep top of mind awareness. And you don't even really have to be selling your services. It's just staying your name in front of them, and with useful information and things that make them still like you, know you, and trust you, right? What you're trying to do, and I'll talk about this later, you're trying to create a relationship that's so strong that they think of you as their trusted legal advisor. When you can get to that stage in your relationship, and you can do it during representation, but you've got to nurture it after representation. You got to keep reminding them that that's what you want to be. Now, some lawyers would argue with me and say, my deal was that I wanted, if they had a legal problem or their family or friends, I want them to call me. If I couldn't help them, I'd get them to other lawyers that could help them. Excuse me. I've had lawyers say, I just don't have time, all those intakes and calls and whatever, but they're missing the big picture. They're looking at the short deal. They're not looking at the long, big picture. Think about it this way. You don't want them calling on a case that you could handle and make a big fee off of because they didn't think you did it. And maybe you started a new practice area since they last used you. Who knows? Or maybe they're going to refer over a MISO case that's worth $1 million in fee that you could get a third of that fee. Do you want them to miss you because you don't have time to take the call? And then the next thing is, you can build up all these relationships with these other lawyers that are not competing with you and give them business. Some of them you'll get referral fees, some of them you won't. But the deal, either way, you're building a relationship with these lawyers who in turn, not all of them, but half of them will reciprocate and send you cases. And if you're doing PI, you can send them referral fees. But what you want to think about is, what I did at my firm, I had a list of all the lawyers for every practice area in all the different counties, or the areas that we drew from our TV advertising. And if we couldn't help them, we'd refer them to somebody. And I built massive referral partners through the years doing this. So, it's not just that you're working your past clients, but you're building referral systems even outside on top of referral systems. So it's just snowballing effect. So that's one thing. And the way you do that, I think the best is through newsletters. And, but most people give up way too quick, because it does take about a year for you to start seeing the traction off of it. Like anything else, they got to see it 6, 7 times. It's got to get in their head. but we do newsletters, and in the newsletters I used to put a little thing in there, a little box that says we want to be your trusted legal advisor. You know, if you or your friends have any legal problems, call us. If we can't help you, we'll get you somebody that can. And I got a lot of calls, and I created a heck of a database, and I helped a lot of other lawyers get business, and that made me more business. And so everybody wins, right? And you're referring them to good lawyers. I always made sure that that lawyer would give them good client service and do good quality work.
Was this, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then the other thing is birthday cards. No, I got a bunch of them. You know, I was talking to one of my mastermind members that joined 𝑾𝑹𝑶𝑵𝑏 back in 2009, and she's telling me that was one of the first things she implemented was doing birthday cards. The next was newsletters, and you'd be surprised that I've had people call me and thank me for their birthday card because I was the only one that sent them one. Now, what do you think's going to be in that person's mind when they have somebody that needs a lawyer or they need a lawyer? Who do you think they're going to go to?
Right.
And then other holiday cards, you know, I used to do the Valentine's card and say, you know, we love referrals or we love our clients. You can do email blast, and you need to gather their email addresses at the beginning. And the reason you want to do this, you could offer something like free notary service, and just let them know about every 3 or 4 months that you do free notary service, or you'll do a free living will. They're all forms. It's no big deal. Or free power of attorneys. Be a service, you know. And then we used to do annual client appreciation festivals where we would put together a big rent a park for a day, get a band to come in, have tents, free food, burgers and hot dogs, give out swag, have drawings, you know, raffles. We had little rides for the kids, and clowns there would painting their face, painting their faces, giving out balloons, you know, things like that. They really appreciate it. And we tell them to bring their friends, and we'd have 600-700 people show up every year. Believe it or not, stickers. We used to put stickers on the back of every piece of mail that went out to our clients that says, we love referrals or we appreciate referrals. You can get those for half a cent a piece. And it just stays in their mind. Hey, these people really, you know, some clients think that you're so busy that you don't need the business, and they don't even send it to you. So you got to keep reminding them that you want it. And in doing that, and this is the golden rule, handwritten thank you notes. If somebody refers you 2 or 3 cases and you never acknowledge it, they're going to quit doing it because they don't think you appreciate it. So you have got to do this. And people say, I don't have time. You don't have time not to. And it don't have to be a you know, War and Peace or an epistle. Mine would go something like this. Dear John, thank you for referring Maddie over to us, you know, reference to her case. You know, a referral is the biggest compliment you could ever give us. And we'll do everything in our power to help her, you know, and keep them coming. Thanks. Just that simple. Which brings me to another thing. On your email, on the bottom of your signature, I always put this, you know, a referral is the greatest compliment you could ever pay our law firm. Please send your friends and family. That just keeps reinforcing it to everybody, you know, that you want referrals. And there's some other ones, and I won't go into detail, you know, but this is just the top of the iceberg. We got a client advisory board. It's way too complicated for me to tell you, but it works like magic. And I usually just reserve that for 𝑾𝑹𝑶𝑵𝑏 members. And we use the books, and I can explain that, but not today because we just don't have time. But there's so many different systems that you can use it. Some of them, like I said, are nothing more than a sticker or putting something on your website or sending out a birthday card. So it doesn't have to be that expensive.
I'm curious, Ken. I mean, you've worked with so many lawyers all across the country. In your opinion, what is the ratio in terms of cases that lawyers get from referrals versus fresh leads? I mean, what's the ratio?
It depends. I mean, you take lawyers that are spending, you know, 6-7 figures on TV and things like that. They're usually, their referral rate's more like 25-30%. But then I know on average, now 𝑾𝑹𝑶𝑵𝑏 members are probably 40-50% because they do what I tell them to do for the most part. So theirs are probably double what the average law firm that does a lot of TV. If you're not doing a lot of TV and radio, you know, what I call high dollar media, then usually, or I know some people that spend up to $250,000 a month on pay-per-click. So if you're doing that, then you're going to be around 20-25% on average, unless you're a Pillman member. Then it'll be 40 to 50%. But that's usually the way it goes.
Well, so what do you say to the skeptic who's like, hey, that's old stuff. We're in a digital age now. We've got Facebook, social media platforms. Do we really need this stuff? Is this just old fashioned? And what would you say to that?
Well, I would say, you know, if it works, you know, why stop doing it? Just because something new don't mean you got to stop doing the old stuff. I mean, when it gets to when it doesn't work, then you want to stop doing it. I mean, I stopped Yellow Pages in 2005 or 6. I was one of the first lawyers in the nation. I went from spending 600,000 a year to 30,000 and just going in white pages. But I was tracking it, and my average cost per case went from like $800 to $2,500 over like a 5-year period, like from 2000 to 2005. So, you know, that's when it's time to change. It's when it doesn't work anymore. But I know, because people tell us, well, you're my lawyer. You're my legal advisor. If I got a legal problem, I'm calling Hardison and Cochran. That's just the way it is. And I'm sending all my friends there, because even if they can't help you, they're going to get you to somebody that can. And how do they know that? Because we reinforce it every month, either sending them a newsletter every other month, email blast every other month, a holiday card, a birthday card, a thank you card for where they do. I got them in our advisory panel. They see our stickers, they see the emails from us with our little thing on it. I mean, we're just inundating them with the deals that we want it. And it does work. Now, it's not a thing that you do and all of a sudden next 30 days, you're going to start seeing, you know, you go from 25% to 50%. No, it's not. But it does work. I mean, I've got it proven time after time again with our mastermind members and our Pillman members that implement these programs. I mean, it's not conjecture. We've got the facts.
It's a proven strategy.
Yeah, it works.
I wanted to ask you something. When you mentioned the newsletters, are you an advocate of, you know, how often, and are you an advocate of hard copy newsletters versus digital? What's your thoughts on those?
Well, I think you can do a digital one every month if you want to, but you know, the open rate, and we've tested this with lawyers in our masterminds that tested it, and even the best in all of our different masterminds is like 30% open rate. So you're only going to hit 30% of your people, but still do it, because it don't cost anything. Once you do it, you just shoot it out, right?
Right.
You got to use something like MailChimp, or if you want to get something like, you know, more robust CRM, you can. But always do the written ones, and you don't have to do those every month. You could do them as little as every quarter. I did them every other month, but it depends on how big your list is. You know, you can do them every other month or do them every quarter. If you've got a lot small lists and a lot of money, then you can do them every month. But I would say minimum every quarter. And like I said, I'm all about the digital, but a lot of people are like me. They got to feel it, see it. They're not, you know, if you do the right kind of newsletter. Now, some of them's going to get thrown away.
Plus, they can share it with friends, with family. Other people will read it too.
Absolutely. If it's good.
What do you say to the lawyer who says, well, that sounds great, Ken, but I'm just too busy. I don't have time to make a newsletter. Are there ways to create a newsletter, or any shortcuts for it?
Yeah, like all our Pillman members, we give them what do you call that, template for one. All they got to do is, you know, send it to the printer and put their masthead on it. And then there's companies out there, several companies out there do great jobs doing it for you. It's done for you. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways. You don't have to do it yourself. I did mine in-house, but I had a full-time marketing crew, and we could do it. And it was a lot cheaper. You know, these companies that do it for you, they got to make a profit, you know, and we understand that. They got people to pay and they got overhead, and so they got to charge you more. They're going to charge you what it costs plus their profit. So it's going to cost you more, but you know, like you say, if you don't have time, you don't have time, you know, so you got to outsource it. But there's plenty of companies out there to do it and do good jobs, some better than others.
Do you have a tip on the holiday cards? Because you don't like Christmas, it seems like you get lost in the masses of everybody sends Christmas
Yeah.
cards. So
Yeah.
what's your
Yeah. Thanks.
philosophy on those?
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me about that, Tiana. Yeah. A long time ago, I say 15, 20 years ago, one of my mentors, I think it was Dan Kennedy, told me, he says, quit sending Christmas cards. Nobody reads them. Everybody, they get 50 Christmas cards from everybody. They don't even look at them. Send them a Thanksgiving card, preempt your competitors. And that's what we did. We sent out a Thanksgiving card and you call it a holiday card, whatever you want to. And then what we did is we put a little magnet in it, a calendar magnet, about 3x5, something like that, 4x6. And we had our contact information on it. And just like the plumber that put it on my water heater. And you'd see them, I know they liked them because I would have, if somehow they didn't, with the mass mailing, certain people didn't get them when they moved, they would call our office and ask them, where's my magnet for this year? We saw them everywhere. I mean, when we go to people, sign up people at their houses, our investigators would say, hey, your calendar magnet was on the refrigerator. And we had tracking numbers. We put different numbers on them each year to see, and I get a dedicated number just for that calendar to see if the people were using them. And it did work.
So if someone wasn't doing any of this kind of grassroots marketing and wanted to know where to start, what would you recommend that they begin doing first?
The thank you cards, newsletters, birthday cards, holiday cards, probably be the first things. And I would tell them if they really want to get into more advanced to join 𝑃𝑶𝑵, I would, self-serving, but I mean it because we've got it laid out for you step by step, how to do these things, how to do the client advisory board, how to do the festivals, how to use the books, and just like double, triple your referrals over a lot quicker than the newsletters will, but it costs more money because you got to spend, money for books.
I know you said we don't have time to go into it about the books, but to just say the books, I'm concerned our audience might wonder, what are you talking about when you say the books?
Yeah, so I'm real big on educational based marketing, and I think you can sell by telling and not having to. I've always been one more of educational based, and I think that the more you can advise them of what their rights are or what the pitfalls are or what the myths are, that they're going to be more beholden to you and they're going to want to use you. Plus, a book gives you authority, makes you seem like you're the expert, whether you are or not. And it's something that doesn't get thrown away. You give a business card out to your clients when they leave the office, give them a handful and say, hey, send me some business. Those cards are going to get lost, thrown away. You give them 3 books, they're not going to be thrown away. They got a high perceived value. If you do them right, you got them on Amazon, you're selling for 15, 20 bucks a piece, but you give them away. You hardly ever sell one. You never do a book to sell it to make money off of it. You do it to gain authority and use it to, to sell yourself and your ability to help them in whatever case they got. So I did like 7 different consumer books. I did one for Social Security, workers' comp, motorcycle accidents, trucking accidents, workers' comp cases, nursing home abuse cases. We did them on everything, and they work. And we use them in a lot of different ways. But one of the ways we use them, we give every client 2 or 3 of them when they hired us. They say, when you see somebody that needs a lawyer, give them this book. Say, this is the lawyer I use. That gives them a really good way to open up. It's an icebreaker. It makes it easier for them to refer, because studies have shown, Tiana, that 20% of the people who's going to refer you cases, no matter if you don't even ask them to, 20% of people are never going to refer you. I don't care if you offered them $1 million, they're just not that way. And 60% would refer you cases if they knew how to, if you made it easy for them. A book makes it very easy. It's an icebreaker. And it's not going to get thrown away. And it does 2 things in one fell swoop. So at 𝑃𝑶𝑵, we actually license these books for different practice areas. And if not, there's other people out there that will help you do it. You can do it yourself. We sell a thing on how to write your own book, how to get it published, how to get your barcode, how to get the Library of Congress number, the whole deal. I mean, it's not that hard. And if you don't have time to do it, then you can hire somebody to do it.
So what, I guess we're gonna have to edit this because I've run out of questions. I mean, I don't know, where are we on the time?
We're okay. I say, let me say one thing in parting. The newsletters are probably, out of everything I've talked about today, the most important, and it takes the longest for it to work. But a newsletter, just a regular, you heard me say a good newsletter. So I want to talk about what makes a good newsletter and what doesn't make a good newsletter. Um, Here's the number one rule that I see lawyers, or the number one mistake I see lawyers make, is that they fill it full of legal stuff and law, and nobody wants to read that junk. It's boring, and they're going to throw it in the trash. So what you want to do is maybe keep 20-25% top about law, and you want to be about yourself. You want to write an article. The lead article should be about something about you and your family, about your dog. I used to do it about my children, my dog, when we had a hurricane down here, when I was on trips, when I was speaking, when I was playing golf, when I was fishing. And what would happen, Tiana, I would go into the grocery store and people would walk up to me and ask me how Maddie, my dog, is doing, because maybe she had been in the doctors, or had a, I think one time she had a broken leg or whatever. The deal is they act like they felt like they knew me. We had built that relationship with the newsletter over years and years, and I might not even know their name, but I would always act like I did, and I'd always say, well, hey, and how are your family doing? You know. Next thing is keep it 5th, 7th grade level, and you can do that with there's a website called Hemingway app, like Ernest Hemingway app.com. You can put your Word document in there and it'll tell you if it's 5th grade, 7th grade. You want to keep it between the 5th and 7th grade level. If you're at a 9th, 10th, 12th grade level, it's going to be too complicated. People quit reading it. Then you can put things like puzzles in there, things like that. I even, put your book in there. We used to do a little contest and give away $100 gas card. And it would be some little thing. They'd mail it in, and that give you also an idea of how many people were actually looking at it. And then we'd take a picture of the person when they come in and put it on the next newsletter so that people would say that we actually did give out the gas card. And that person with a smiling face getting the $100 gift card for a gas or whatever it might be. It might be a Visa card. It might be a gas card, whatever. It might be an Amazon card now if we were doing it. But and then you can do something like little recipes and stuff about people in your firm. You can highlight a firm. You can highlight a client if they give you permission. But you want to make it easy to read. We used to do little helpful hints, like at Halloween, we'd say safety tips for Halloween, just whatever. I mean, little things. If there was some new law that came out, it's going to really change people's lives, we would talk about that. But the deal is you make it interesting, entertaining, and easy to read.
It's also a great opportunity to recognize those folks that have given referrals, isn't it? Like
yeah, absolutely. See, that's why I wanted you doing this interview, because you're going to remember stuff I do that I don't even remember. Yeah, this is another thing I did, and it kind of reinforced the idea of getting referrals. Is in every newsletter I would put, we thank you. This was from the last newsletter. We want to thank the following people for referring us cases. I put everybody's name down there, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger as the newsletter went along. And I know they read it, and it like kind of reinforces everything, because I had a little lady called me. I can't remember her name. She said, Mr. Hardison, you forgot to put my name in there. I referred you so-and-so. I said, I'll just call her Addie. I say, well, Addie, don't worry about it. Next month, I'll put your name in it, and I'll put it in bold print. And I did. And she called me back and thanked me. So, people like to see their name in print too, right?
Right.
And somebody said one time, Laura said, well, I think that's violating confidentiality. I said, no, it's not, because I'm not telling who they referred. I'm just telling the people that referred. I'm a referrer, it's not the referees. So I don't see any ethical. But if you feel funky about it, you can always get a bar ruling from your state bar if you're worried about it. I just never saw the problem. I never did, because I don't see the problem. I'm not violated anybody's confidences other than the fact that they referred me a case. I think they're kind of proud of it, I don't think they're worried about it.
Yeah, I think as lawyers, we're in and out of courtrooms, and it's not unusual for us to even be in the paper about this or that, or to be quoted if we're interviewed about something. But I think it's a big deal for a lot of people to see their name in print. And so it's important, and it's so simple to do, to just stick it right in your newsletter.
Yeah, I forgot that. Thank you for reminding me.
Oh no, that's fine. That's why I'm here, right?
That's right. That's right.
I did want to ask you one other question. I had to go back to the beginning, but there was another question that I had, and that is this. You've talked about how important it is to be the lawyer that people in the community know, like, and trust. You want to be their trusted advisor. So if you can't help them, you'll find somebody who will. But what do you say to the lawyer who's like, well, I am busy with my own cases, I don't have time? I mean, isn't there a system that you can create where someone other than you can make those suggestions or referrals?
Oh,
For example,
absolutely.
if it's your intake department can do it?
Oh, we had our intake department do it, or whoever's doing your new callers. It could be your receptionist or whoever. I mean, the deal is,
So you're creating a list, in other words.
yeah, everybody had it. I mean, the paralegals had it. Everybody had it at their desk. So anybody that took a new caller they just knew to do it. We had a system. This is what you do if we don't handle this area of law. We had on the sheet the areas of law that we did handle, because this is a nightmare story. Lawyer didn't get a MISO case because somebody called his office and he just needed car wrecks, and their intake person told him, well, we just do car wrecks. We don't do MISO cases, which are $2 or $3 million. So he lost that referral fee. That cost him $300,000. So I would put down there everything we do, and we would, all the mass torts, even though I didn't do them, I would put them down there, and I would refer them out and get a referral fee. Malpractice we didn't do, would refer them out, if they took the case, we get a referral fee. Just whatever, because a lot of people don't do everything, because you got to be specialized now, really, to compete in today's market. But what we took, what we didn't take, we had intake sheets on pretty much everything we did take. So it made it pretty systematized. I mean, I personally didn't refer any of them out. My firm did. No, it was just a system. Yeah, I can't do everything. We got to do it with systems.
If you're big on systems.
Got to have them, especially for somebody like me that got hands in too many jars, got too many irons in the fires. You got to have system where other people can do it and delegate it. Absolutely.
So for as exciting as digital marketing is, there's still a very strong place for traditional marketing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what I'm seeing is, and I think you're going to see the big guys coming back. I'm starting to see it. TV made a lot of lawyers lazy in the beginning. When I started TV in '97, I went from taking 20 cases in the next month to 120 cases. It was this wasn't, the market wasn't saturated. It was easy. I mean, you didn't even have to have good commercials. Just throw your name up there and say, call me if you've been hurt. That's all you had to do. But it's changed. I mean, the market, it's like triple what lawyers are spending. Like when I was doing it, they might have been spending like 300 to 400 million total nationwide. Now they're spending almost 2 billion, nationwide. It's got, a lot of the markets are very saturated. And what's happening is cars are getting safer. So there's less accidents and there's more lawyers on TV going after them. So the cost per case has gone up. And so they're looking, now they're having to look for alternatives. And the internet's getting very competitive because that was always been the equalizer with the TV lawyers. Lawyers would go on there and do PPC or do the SEO and they could compete. But now that's got some competitive. Then I think you're going to see a lot of lawyers going, and I know some that are doing it for a fact, are going more back to the basics, the grassroots stuff, because they've got such a big database and they just always been lazy about doing it because it was just easier to throw more money into TV or radio. That's not the case anymore. You can throw more money in it and you might get more cases, but instead of them costing you $1,000, $2,000, they may cost you $3,000 or $4,000. If your average fee is like 10, that's not a good investment. That's a terrible investment. So you got to figure out cheaper ways to do it. And I'm starting to see a lot of even the big, I call them 800-pound gorillas, are going back toward this. So when they're doing it, it must be working right.
Sure. That's right. That's right. And I mean, it's about relationship. And I think as more as we get into the digital age, people still want relationship. So the handwritten note, things that are unique to them, direct communication in a different way, I think stands out and nurtures that relationship that you're trying to create.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you, Ken.
Well, thank you, Tiana. I appreciate you taking time from your busy schedule to help me with this podcast.
I am happy to do it. And those that have not read Under Promise Over Deliver really need to check that out. It is a seminal, great work. Ken won't talk about it himself, but I will. It's wonderful. So if you've missed it, we mentioned it at the top of the podcast. But if you don't have it, check it out.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right. Until next time, then, that's Ken Hardison. Bye.
You have been listening to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, the podcast that leads lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Go to growyourlawfirm.com to find more ways to market and manage your law firm. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.